Hello, everybody. Welcome back to an episode of Red Dead Redemption Character Analysis. Well, we're back here. We're in the new year, 2026. It's finally time to start getting everything together for the new year. A lot of cool stuff coming up. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed our 2025 channel tribute. Of course, it's an annual thing coming on the channel here. I try to post it every year on New Year's Eve. But yeah, our 2025 channel review's up, so just some of the quicker clips from the year and, the usual kind of stuff just to cap off the year. It's becoming a fun tradition here on the channel. Been doing it for a couple of years now. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I highly recommend it. It's a good tribute to the year and a lot of good stuff to come. But yeah, we're here back in Red Dead Character Analysis, and this is where we're going to be capping off the series. Finally, I know it's been a while since I started the Red Dead 1 and 2 character analysis, but I just wanted to, like I said before, cover all the bases and make sure I got all the right characters that I wanted to cover, because it is one of my favorite games. Red Dead 1 and 2 are my all-time favorite games, one of them at least. So I want to make sure I covered all the characters correctly. Yeah, going into the new 2026, the year, going to be wrapping it up here, so just wrapping up something. Then yeah, we're on to our next game. I know what it's going to be, but I'm going to kind of keep it a surprise, and I think you guys will enjoy it too. But I'll keep it a surprise till the episode comes out. Most likely in the next week or two, we'll be getting a new character analysis, getting going on a new game, because there's tons of games, a lot of big plans I have, especially for this year specifically. And I'm going to try to save some of the year stuff going into the new year with our annual channel welcome and look ahead, which will probably be coming out next week, so stay tuned for that. So just another annual thing here on the channel. At the beginning of the year, I do a channel welcome and walkthrough. If you had some of the new subscribers coming on here, then also just for stuff to stay tuned with in my plans for the year, so you know how it is. So we're going to be going through it probably next week or so, but we're just going to get right into it for the Red Dead wiki, of course, getting our info from there. Going to get right into it. We'll be doing Leviticus Cornwall, and he's a pretty big character. He's pretty prevalent with between Dutch and the gang, and I think he's pretty recognizable character. I think we should recognize him within Red Dead Redemption character analysis. So we're going to get right into it. Leviticus Cornwall is a major character and overarching antagonist of Red Dead Redemption 2, serving as the main antagonist of the game's Horseshoe Overlook chapter, and he is also mentioned in Red Dead Online. So we're going to get into it. Get into his history. Leviticus Cornwall is a wealthy man who owns many of the businesses in the Vanderlyn gang have their sights set on. With his greatest power accumulated in Saint Denis, he is also a financial backer of the Pinkerton National Detective Agency. At some point, he gave Colonel Henry Favors of the United States Army a proposition to drive the Wapiti Indians off the reservation's land, which are allegedly oil-rich. To do so, he made a deal with the state, offering to modernize it, for which he was given a vast amount of state bonds. In doing so, Cornwall undermined the authority of the federal government, who did not want conflict with the Indians. Leviticus Cornwall also built up connections with the ruler of Guam, Alberto Fusar, due to the sugar plantations on the island. Cornwall had close business ties with Fusar, reportedly describing him as his great friend to America, in spite of the controversial reputation. At some point prior to 1899, he destroyed or sabotaged the oil derrick in the Heartlands. There, a corpse can be looted to find a letter from Cornwall carrying a tar addressed to a Mr. Varley. The letter makes several offers to buy the derrick to reduce competition in the oil market. Given the state health and structure of what is likely Varley's corpse, it is assumed Cornwall decided to sabotage the derrick and have Varley killed, which, not too crazy to assume that. Later in the Coulter chapter in the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, Leviticus Cornwall is first mentioned by the gang after they attack an O'Driscoll camp near Coulter. The gang discovers information about a Cornwall train that the O'Driscolls intended to rob and decide to do it on their stead. The gang decides to rob the train soon afterward, despite protests from Hosea Matthews, and they siege a significant amount of money in the bonds. However, Cornwall catches wind of this and begins funding the Pinkerton National Detective Agency, commissioning them to bring down the Vanderlyn gang. Moving on to the Horseshoe Overlook chapter, Cornwall manages to track down the Vanderlyn gang and Valentine. In retaliation for the robbery, he has private guards hold Leopold Strauss and John Marston as hostages. He then demands that Dutch comes outside before his men are killed, and leaves immediately afterward, telling his private guards to deal with the situation. During the Saint Denis chapter, kind of moving on there, during Mayor Henry Lemieux's party, sorry if I kind of read that wrong, Cornwall angrily telephones the mayor's residence to demand that the mayor sign some papers. Lemieux's butler Pierre informs him about the call during the party. Dutch overhears this conversation and tells Arthur Morgan to follow the servant. Pierre heads to the mayor's office and locks a drawer which contains the mayor's ledger and documents that Cornwall wants Lemieux to sign. After Pierre leaves, Arthur sneaks into the office and steals the documents. and the Beaver Hollow chapter insisting it's just a simple social call, the mission you're seeing now on the screen. Dutch decides to confront Cornwall personally and brings Arthur and Micah Bell along to wait for him to sail into Annesburg. Cornwall has a brief meeting with the Pinkerton agents Milton and Ross, where he scolds them for the lack of progress, claiming Dutch is still out there laughing at him, and also threatens to pull his funding. When Milton defends the agency by saying they've been doing all they can within the confines of the law, Cornwall angrily berates him and orders them to discard the law and get him Vanderlyn talking about through whatever means necessary. The pair soon leave before Cornwall begins berating a union leader for the miners about the wage strike. Dutch then suddenly steps in and demands $10,000, Cornwall's boat, and safe patches in return for sparing his life. Cornwall refuses and Dutch kills him by shooting him in the chest. Cornwall promptly falls into the water, initiating a large shootout with the private guards against Arthur and Dutch. And despite Cornwall's death, his presence would still be felt in several plot points, which is actually interesting. There's some interesting points I'm going to get into kind of after this article. Dutch believed Cornwall to be the sole reason to why the Pinkertons were pursuing them, as he was one of their funders, and that his death would weaken them. However, it only instead made them even more aggressive. Colonel Flavors continued oppressing the Wapiti Indians despite Cornwall's death, and Eagle Fly's later revolt, which would lead to his own death and the Indians abandoning Wapiti. Ironically, this is what Cornwall had wanted in the first place, and his death neither stopped the Pinkertons' pursuit of the gang, nor saved the Wapiti Indians, which is kind of what Dutch ultimately kind of turned into. He kind of betrayed the Indians there, along with the rest of the gang, and kind of didn't really, killing Cornwall didn't really help anything, as Arthur kind of alluded to. So it's pretty much didn't mean anything. But it's certainly not sad to see Cornwall die. I mean, he wasn't the best man either. He destroyed a lot of the environment with his Annesburg oil mine, just a lot of his stuff. You see Annesburg around. If you go into it, you can see how polluted it is, and also his other developments. So it's not too sad to see Cornwall go, but it also wasn't so necessary. It didn't really help anything. Newspaper articles report on Cornwall's death, something previously seen as inconceivable given his wealth, power, and high profile. Additionally, many NPCs will mention his demise in small talk. And in the epilogue, a newspaper article written in 1907 reveals that Cornwall Kerosene and Tar continued to operate despite Leviticus's death. After the Wapiti Indians had fled to Canada by the end of 1899, drilling began on the reservation's land. The amount of oil discovered that turned out to be minimal, and drilling was quickly halted due to lack of profits. Ultimately, Cornwall's campaign to drive the Wapiti Indians from their lands was in vain, as years later the settlements was completely abandoned. And another article stated that the Southern and Eastern Railway had been bought out by the Pacific Union Railroad, and it's quite interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be getting into some extra stuff. There's actually a cool quote from Dutch talking to Cornwall in one of those missions that I'm going to show here in a couple minutes. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's one of my favorite quotes, I think, from Dutch, amongst others. But kind of going into his character here, a little bit extra here. It was from the Reddit wiki. Leviticus Cornwall is shown to be irritable and an arrogant man. He is greedy and ruthless, using his resources to inflict pain on others in order to extend his control over various businesses and resources. He is also incredibly vindictive towards the Vanderlyn gang for consistently robbing and attacking his businesses. During a personal confrontation with Cornwall, Dutch claims that while he is selective of who he kills and robs, which is the quote we're going to kind of go into, Cornwall is indiscriminate and therefore is far more destructive. This is exemplified in a conversation with an Annesburg miner and a union representative, Didsbury, in which Cornwall expresses disregard for the safety of his employees and in favor of accelerating production in the mining company and the union. But yeah, it's just, Cornwall's a great example of the turning of the times. It's, the industrial age is getting into all that, and a lot of the rich people are kind of coming in and taking over everything. Cornwall in the time of the game is the perfect example of that, I think. Just kind of how he controls everything and how he pollutes everything, and, Dutch is right in that aspect, and the quote he said here is, I'm going to play it. Usually I read it, but I think it's, at least this quote in specific, I think it's more powerful if you hear from Dutch himself. So this quote pretty much sums it up, I think.
Like this poor fellow you are talking to, my feelings are hurt.
You robbed me, sir.
And you robbed him. Funny world.
You show a criminal's grasp of sophistry, sir. I did no such thing.
You kill. I kill. You rob. I rob. Only difference I can see is I choose whom I kill and rob, and you destroy everything in your path.
I've heard just about enough.
I'll tell you what. You give me this ship, $10,000, and safe passage out of here, I'll let you live.
I'll do no such thing.
You sure? Good. I prefer it this way.
You lost your man!
Noise, Arthur!
Yeah, I thought that was just I wanted to capture the whole scene there. I thought that was pretty interesting. But the quote in particular is when he said, "You kill, I kill, you rob, and I rob. But the only difference I could see is I choose whom I kill and rob, and you destroy everything in your path." I thought that was a pretty indicative quote of kind of just describes Cornwall in general. And Dutch was pretty right there. Unfortunately, it was just the kind of had to kill him, and it didn't do too much. And that was just towards Dutch's bad path at the end of the game. But that's Dutch's thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Cornwall character analysis. I thought he was a pretty important enough character, kind of like I was saying, important enough character to do a character analysis on. And that's the finale of Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Both games wrapped up, character analysis, another character analysis done. Um, I know it took a while. It took, honestly, to be honest, the character analysis has been going. This character analysis has been going, now that the New Year's here, it's been going for almost 2 years now. Maybe three. I think mostly 2 years, but just because Red Dead 1 and 2 was just such a long game and there's been gaps of time and everything, it's just such, both games, doing 2 games. I promise you character analysis rounds wouldn't, it all depends on the game, but I promise you most of the time character analysis rounds aren't going to last that long. Unless, it's as long of a game as Red Dead 1 and 2, especially if I'm covering more games. I'm sure there'll be more games like that, but the next one won't be taking as long. But it'll be a good game. So you guys will see next week, or maybe the week after that, I'll come out with a new character analysis for our new game. You guys will see, it'll be a surprise. So yeah, for what of Red Dead 1 and 2 character analysis, it was good times, a lot of cool characters, learned a lot of cool stuff, I think, reading through the Red Dead Wiki, great site. Shout out to them this whole time. And yeah, we're starting off 2026 pretty good, just wrapping some stuff up. Of course, like I said, I'll have a lot more to talk about for the new year and plans and whatnot, of course, in our channel review and welcome. So stay tuned for that coming out next week. Definitely for sure. Try to come out with it earlier in the year, early the year starts. But yeah, so stay tuned for all that. A lot of cool stuff coming. I know I took a break kind of from Christmas to New Year's. I was very busy. I just kind of took a hiatus from the channel. Maybe not even a full-on hiatus, but just took a little break, a week or two break. But we're gonna be starting off the new year. That's one of the also bigger things. I kind of been lacking videos and whatnot towards the end of the last year. That's definitely something going to be changing this year. Gonna be more consistent with the channel and whatnot. I'm still very committed to it. So a lot of cool, fun stuff coming. And yeah, comment down below what you thought of the Red Dead 1 and 2 character analysis now that it's finally wrapped up. Let me know your favorite characters, your favorite character analysis I covered within the series. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, it's going to be a very fun year. So happy New Year to all you guys. And hopefully it was a good 2025 for you guys. I know we did really good on the channel. And here's to more times. Hopefully could grow and thrive out this channel more this year. And yeah, happy New Year. So of course, be sure to subscribe for more content. Link video, all stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. Links in the description. And yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming this year. So stay tuned. But for now, though, I will see you guys in the next video.